Hey everybody, it's Matt from Nerd Nuts Pain doing a quick episode 5 of the Lord of the Rings series. I just feel like doing something different. Been playing a lot of Bloodborne lately, so we're going to do this, Beravor. If it's your first time with the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We've got so many games coming up. We're going to finish Bloodborne, Madar's coming up, Aetherfield's got so much stuff. Alright, let's go. All right, our first paint we're going to use on all of the cloak area is going to be a little Castellan Green, which is a very foresty looking green, very elfish. I like it. We're going to paint our undershirt with a little Wraithbone. It's going to be our undershirt, the shirt that sticks out underneath the cloak, and going all the way up to the hands. So we're just going to take our time and paint that, and make sure we are thinning our paints. I use a wet palette, so make sure you thin your paints with everything. Or with water, not everything. That doesn't make any sense. And just make sure you get underneath the cloak that our shirt is sticking out. The pants and the grip of our miniature we're going to paint with a little Mournfang Brown, which is a nice reddish brown. Very good for pants. It really reminds me of reading like a Wheel of Time, or in this case, Lord of the Rings, and imagining what their pants would look like. For all of our belts and leather pieces, we're going to be using some Rhinox Hide, and this includes the leather clasps over the wrists and forearms of our miniature that we're going to paint here in this next little shot that I'm about to do. But we're just hitting those with a little Rhinox Hide. For our staff, we're going to be using a little Skrag Brown. For a little pouch, we're going to be using a little Zandri Dust. Just be careful when you're painting this to not get anything, but if you get it, that's no big deal. We just go over it with your other paint. For the sheath, we're going to be using a little Dryad Bark. And for the sweet headband, for the boots, we're going to be doing a little Mechanicus Standard Gray. For all of our metal bits, we're going to be using a little Leadbelcher. Was a staple for any GW paint and a miniature that's requiring steel. For the blonde hair, we're going to use a little XV88, which is a yellowish brown. And we're going to go back to our Wraithbone and paint our shoelaces. And finally, finishing off our base colors with all of our skin tone, which is going to be, of course, Bugman's Glow. Don't forget the hands. We're going to create our wash, and we're going to be doing 2 to 3 brushfuls of Lahmian Medium, about 2 Athnian Camoshade, and 3 of our Agrax Earthshade. That's going to make our complete shade for everything besides the skin. We're going to take that and put it all over the cloak, the arms, the staff, every single thing besides our skin. And for our skin, of course, we're going to be using Reikland Fleshshade. If you get a little bit of wash over into the skin area or vice versa, it's not a big deal at all. After you are completely dry with your wash, you are going to take your first highlight tone, which is a little Bugman's Glow. Obviously, we do not want to get this in the recesses. We're just hitting the raised areas, the forehead, the nose, cheekbones, under the chin, and the lips. That's it. Now you're going to take a 50-50 mix of Bugman's Glow and Cadian Fleshshade, and we are going to hit the same spots that we just hit with our Bugman's Glow to include the fingers and the face of our miniature. Now we're going to take some pure Cadian Flesh Tone, and we're doing just a little bit less each time we're doing this. We're still hitting the same areas, the bridge of the nose, the cheekbones, the lip, and the under chin, along with our fingers and part of our hands, as I'm doing in the video. Alright, now we're going to take a 50-50 mix of Cadian Flesh Tone and Kislev Flesh, and again, we're hitting the same spots, but just doing a little bit less each time. Now we're doing some pure Kislev Flesh, and we're just using this very sparingly, just the top of the nose, maybe a little bit on the cheeks, and a little bit on the chin. And we're hitting maybe just the knuckles, maybe the top portion of the thumbs, and just giving it little sparse, just little differences. We will re-highlight the hair with a little XV88, and we're just hitting a little bit of the braids. They're going down from the cloak. If you want to go a little bit further, you could add a little bit of white after your first layer to your XV88, and just hit that very top portion above the forehead. Now we're going to do the cloak, and we're going to start with our base color, which was a little Castellan Green, and we will just hit the top portions of our cloak and the folds. We are not going into the recesses, and we're just getting the basic top portion of it. We can mix our next color, which we're going to do 50-50 of Castellan Green and Straken Green. Now we're picking out parts of the fold of our cloak that is in the top portion, or if the sun was directly above it, would be the light portion of our cloak. And we're just picking out nice strands and taking it from there. For our next color, we're going to use about 1 to 2 brushfuls of Lahmian Medium versus about 3 brushfuls of Loren Forest. And we're going to start working that into our cloak and just lighting it up just ever so slightly, hitting the top portions of our folds and the very bottom portion of our cloak. And for our last color, we're going to be doing about 1 brushful of Lahmian Medium versus about 2 brushfuls to 3 brushfuls of Straken Green. And this is a very bright green compared to what we've been painting, so we're just going to hit the topmost portions and a little bit on the bottom of our cloak. Just kind of brighten up just a little bit. We're going to retake some of that Wraithbone, and we are going to pick out portions of our shirts and just kind of going through and not getting into the recesses, just hitting that top portion. Then we're going to hit some Zandri Dust onto the pouch that we had done earlier. We're going to re-highlight portion of our pants with a little bit of Mournfang Brown, and we're just hitting the top portions of our pants. Not doing the whole thing, just picking out little pieces to kind of give a little bit of that brown contrast. Again, we are not going into the creases of our pants. We're going to keep that shaded. Also, don't forget the grip that is on this staff with a little Mournfang Brown. Do not go into the recess again, just pick out portions of the leather straps. We're going to re-highlight the staff with a little bit of our Skrag Brown and we're just kind of picking out a vast majority of it. There's not a lot of recesses, so you can basically repaint the whole thing or just do the front of it and keep the sides a different contrasted color. For all of our metal bits, we're going to take some Runefang Steel and highlight our sword and everything that's on the belt. Now I like to go with an edge highlighting approach with a lot of this and kind of just pick out pieces that would glint in the sunlight to make it a little bit more contrasty, if that's even a word. Our bootlaces, we're going to hit up with a little bit of Corax White, and just be very careful when you're doing this. You want to get a bunch on the gray, and we're just picking out nice little bits of it, making it look a little bit nicer, a little bit of contrast. For our leather handguards, we're going to be doing a little Doombull Brown. Just kind of pick it out, give it a little bit of nice reddish brown versus that dark, almost blackish brown. With our base colors and highlights done, we're going to put some Stirland Mud onto the bottom of our miniature, and we're going to build our base. Once that is completely dry, which takes about an hour to 2 hours, hit it with a little dry brush of some Tyrant Skull. Followed by some Terminatus Stone as another dry brush. And finally some Death Korps Drab, or just anything that's similar to that color to give it a nice green, earthy look as well. Same as a dry brush. We're going to create our wash for our base, which is a little Biel-Tan Green and Agrax Earthshade. Do a 50-50 mix, and that's going to give it a nice earth green look, almost like it's in a patch of grass. Holy crap. And we're going to slap that onto the entirety of our base. While that is drying, we're going to paint our rim with Abbadon Black. And I'm going to put some optional nice little spruceness on there with some flowers, tufts of grass, and some pre-made grass. Obviously, all this is necessary, but I think it adds to the Lord of the Rings lore and flavor. And I thoroughly enjoy this game, actually, so I just went the extra mile. And that's what our miniature turned out to be. Not too bad. Turned out pretty good. Not a lot of steps, not a lot of time, but it turned out pretty good. And I'm sure you're happy of what you painted, because I'm sure it looks amazing. I just want to say thank you for watching this channel and watching these episodes and helping this channel grow. It is very taxing to do all these videos and paint these miniatures, even though I do enjoy doing it. it does take away from my family. So I appreciate it if you do subscribe and you do like it, and you leave a comment below and watch the future videos. All right, until next time, paint on.